All right, so we're recording this and I want to introduce our speaker. This is West Virginia Division of Forestry, Linda Carnell. Linda is a forester with the West Virginia Division of Forestry. She is located in Romney, West Virginia, which I recognize. She's outside the Romney office right now. She has been a forester for 34 years. In that time, she has worked as a forest products utilization forester, working with the forest industry. She's been a district forester, a forestry specialist in logging and water quality, and is currently an assistant state forester dealing with communications and education. She is in the staff of West Virginia State Conservation Camp. So we're junior conservation camp, but Linda helps out with the older version of that, and the National 4-H Forestry Invitation. She also serves as a statewide coordinator for Project Learning Tree and environmental education program. So welcome, Linda. We're excited to hear what you have to share today. I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan. As Susan said, my name is Linda Carnell, and I'm a forester. And as a forester, a lot of people are not quite sure exactly what we do. They think we work with animals and deal with hunting and all this, but basically we are the tree people. So when we're looking at trees, we look at a lot of different things. And as a forester for the forest, we are basically their doctor. So sometimes people will call us and say, you know, what's wrong with my tree? Or what is this bug that's attacking my tree? So we kind of diagnose what's happening with the trees. We also are like their pharmacist, where we will give a prescription as to what these trees or what that forest needs. Sometimes it's in a way of applying different chemicals to help the tree out, or sometimes to actually make a forest healthy, we have to do some harvest in order to germinate new trees to come back and grow. So the other part that we do is when trees are harvested, they turn into something else. So for the ones that are on here using chat, I would like to ask you this question, and you can put in as many things as you can think of, but can you name 3 things that are made from a tree, that a part of a tree is used to make this product? And I'll give you just about 30 seconds. Type in something if you know it, and we'll discuss this a little bit. Okay. Any?
Paper, cardboard, wood, flooring.
Okay. So someone put down paper, cardboard, and wood flooring. Those are perfect. Those are perfect. Anybody else?
Paper, toilet paper, and books.
Paper, toilet paper, and books. Good. So I'm glad you talked about this or think of those things, because actually the United States is one of the biggest consumers or users of paper in the world. And not a lot of people think about paper and connect it with trees. And if you can think of something like this, everybody knows in their mind what a tree looks like. Great, big, heavy, tall, all those adjectives. Imagine taking something big, heavy, and tall and turn it into something the width of a hair. That's how you get paper. They actually have to break a tree down before it turns into something else. So you mentioned flooring. We're talking about direct wood products, wood right from the tree that turns into something else. So the reason we're talking about wood products is this little piece of wood right here. This little triangle, or some people call it the wood cheese, but this represents how much wood each and every person in the world consumes every day. We use it in all different types of ways. So maybe we'll come back to that in a minute. The other thing I talked to you about paper. You know, we've talked about newspaper and cardboard and all that. Think about consuming paper. You do it all the time. If you run through a drive-through window, when you order something, when that order comes out, think about it. It's usually in a bag. It's usually packaged in paper. So if you have little French fries or hash browns, guess what you wipe your mouth with? Oh, paper. Yep, go figure. So all these things right here are consumption goods. So basically we use them, and then what do we do with them? Some people say, well, you go and recycle them. No, most of us throw them away. So that's how we have consumed a small part of our daily wood. Now, a lot of times we look at wood and we think of this right here, something solid, things that we're looking at. But once you break down a tree, sometimes, and I know it'll be tough to see, but maybe you can see it against my shirt. See that right there? That's also wood. So this is something called cellulose. Cellulose is the building blocks of wood. So when you have that, all of a sudden, those building blocks go into so many other different things. So I'm going to talk to you real quick about wood. Now, some of you may be yawning, thinking, oh my gosh, you know, why is she talking about wood? Think about it. In West Virginia, there are over 100 different species of trees. Every one of them made up, they all seem like probably just trees to everybody else. I know when I was your age, there were green trees and Christmas trees, and that was it. And all of a sudden through 4-H, I started learning some of my trees. And like I said, there were so many different characteristics, different leaves, different barks, different makeup. And so sometimes we ask the question, can all trees be used for all things? And the answer to that is no. So I want to give you a quick story, and we're going to talk about the oak family. So there's two families of oak. You have the white oak family and the red oak family. In West Virginia, we have a great big barrel making industry in the southern part of the state, and they love to use white oak. White oak, what's the difference between white oak and red oak? There's a whole lot of difference. The leaves look similar, the bark looks similar, but then you get inside the wood and it's totally different. So the white oak, when it is harvested and opened up into a regular board, all of a sudden, all the vessels, just like your arteries and veins in your body, wood has vessels too, so that sugars and waters can run through the tree. When white oak is harvested, those vessels seal. And once they seal, they become very hard and waterproof. So most of our barrels are made from white oak. On the other hand, its cousin, the red oak, same kind of leaves, a little different, bark's a little different. And you would think that the wood does the same thing, but it doesn't. Its vessels or pores are wide open. So now that I've told you that story, the difference between white oak, remember it will seal, and red oak is wide open. We're going to do a real quick example. So I have two pieces of wood right here. They are both oaks. One is white and one is red, but I'm not sure which ones they are. Remember the story. One seals and one is wide open. So what I'm going to do, first of all, do you think that you can blow bubbles through wood? Most would say no, because a lot of the wood we deal with is already sealed and things along those lines. Something has been done to it to preserve it. But this is just raw white oak and red oak. Not sure which one is which. So let's do a real quick example. I have a jar of bubbles. Okay, I just went to the store yesterday and bought bubbles. So I could take out the thing, just so you know, this is not, you know, some special magic trick. Bubbles. So you know that's what they are. Now what I'm going to do is dip each one of these into the bubble mixture. And I want you to tell me which one is the white oak and which one is the red oak. Okay. Did you see that? Let's do it one more time. Okay, which one is the white oak and which one's the red oak? And you can put it in chat. Which one am I working on right now? white oak or red oak? White oak, you're right. Okay, now let's look at this one. That's just standard bubble mix. So which one do you think that is? Red oak or white oak? You're right, it's red oak. So that kind of shows you that not all wood is the same. You could try this at home. If you have someone that does woodworking, or you've had somebody go to Lowe's and get a board or something, cut off a little piece. And if it's red oak, you can dip it in bubbles and do this yourself. One more time, because this is always cool. A lot of times we'll just do it to see how long of a bubble ring we can get. But what you're seeing is I'm actually pushing air through some of these pores, and it is actually coming out the other end. So a lot of people don't think, they think wood is solid. It is to a point, but it still has vessels and tubes and stuff in it. So that's some of the difference between wood. Now, the other thing too, when we're talking about things we get from trees.
Can you show it a little closer?
Oh, a little closer? Sure. I didn't know how close I could get. Is this good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You see that? Yeah, so this is my magic trick for the day. And the white oak will not produce bubbles because, like we said, it seals. Okay, so the holes in it or the pores are totally sealed.
So Harmony said, so is the red more porous and it's why it blows?
Exactly. Yes, that's why. So the red oak is more porous, and the white oak is just as porous, but it has something in it that kind of reminds you of hardening of the arteries in adults. It's where plaque and different things get together and it just forms and seals. And once it seals and dries, it hardens into a waterproof material. So nature's pretty cool about that. Now, when I got out of school, I went to West Virginia University and I got my degree in forestry. And forestry and natural resources are one of the best degrees you can kind of get because they're so well-rounded. You can go into so many different things. In fact, I have a young lady here with me right now who has a geology degree. So what are we talking about? Rocks, soil, the formation of the earth, that's all geology. But yet, you know, she gets to go on and bring in forestry into that later because different trees need different soils to grow. But anyway, that's a whole nother section and we won't get into that. But when I got out of school, I actually lived in Trinidad and Tobago for a while. And while I was there, I got to experience a lot of different things. And what we're going to do is talk about just a few of these. When I was going between different host families, I would see things and observe things that were just not normal for me. If we think about where we go to get things, like if I ask you right now, I need you to go get a paintbrush, where would you go? Probably to the store. If I ask you to get some coffee, you know, mom and dad, or maybe you like to drink coffee, where would you go get it? At a store. When I was living in the Caribbean country, the coffee was out in my backyard. You actually picked the beans and you would dry them if I wanted to drink coffee. You didn't just go to the store. I saw trees that were oozing something that looked like Elmer's glue, and it turned out to be latex. It was sap of a tree, the rubber tree. I never knew that. And so there's a lot of things that I learned once I went someplace else, because you couldn't just always go get things at a store. There was no Walmarts. There was, you know, nothing, no big stores like that. And so if you wanted something, there you were. And also in the backyard of some of my family's homes in Trinidad and Tobago, I had guava, kiwi, papaya, mango, coconut trees growing right in my backyard. So it was an eye opener for me because I didn't realize, I never took the time to think about where my stuff comes from. And so now I've got a greater appreciation. We're going to do an activity here in a few minutes to kind of talk about this. But what I'm going to do right now is ask Caitlin to get ready and show you a video. And this will give you just another clue as to what we're going to do. Okay, and think about some things, other things that come from trees.
Need a break? How about a forest fast break? Brought
Yes.
to you by the Idaho Forest Products Commission.
Better.
Wood. It's a pretty amazing building material, but it's not just for building. It is amazing. That is one of nature's promise. Trees mix carbon dioxide and sunlight to create a surprisingly strong material. Try doing that at home. Not to worry. Trees do all the hard work themselves. Nice going. So what do we use that's made of wood? Well, let's start with a few easy ones. Lumber for making houses, plywood for skateboards, cardboard boxes for packaging, newspapers for reading, books for learning, even guitars, clocks, tables, and tons of others. But guess what else includes wood? Toothpaste has wood in it. Ice cream has wood in it. Even artificial bones. They're even developing tools that can produce different trees. Turns out that you probably use or even see parts of various trees. And that's the story of wood products. Check out more Forest Fast Breaks. Visit Omaha Forest. Yes. Share.
We got some of it. It was a little broken up. I don't know why. It had a lot of feedback on it.
I'm sure it's probably our lovely
Internet.
So anyway, that was just a real quick video. It's just a couple minutes. It's called Forest Fast Breaks, and there's a lot of different subjects that you could look up if you're interested in it. They talk about wildlife and fire and trees and all kind of things. So now that we have talked about the very beginning of forest products, I want you to take a few moments, look around your house. I'll give you a minute. And I want you to go find something that maybe is not paper in your house that you think is made from a tree. Okay? Ready and go. So does anyone have anything that they would like to share? You can either turn your camera on for a few minutes, and if you don't want to be seen, that's fine. Just tilt your camera down to show us what you brought back. I'm just curious to see what you came up with.
Anybody want to share? I didn't have anything. Oh, there's someone in
A
chat.
towel.
A towel. Really? Okay. All right. What else?
Pencil.
A pencil. Perfect. Perfect. Anybody else?
I grabbed a clipboard.
Yes. Yes. A clipboard. So actually, that's kind of neat because that's a whole big bunch of junky wood that's all compressed and turns into something else. So once we're done here, if you start looking around your house and even outdoors, I think you'll be surprised as to what you find. The neat thing is you named 3 or 4 things that you pretty much think come from a tree. So it was paper, it was wood, it was different things. Believe it or not, there's over 5,000 things listed as a forest product. So what we're going to get ready to do now is go into some of the things that may or may not come from a tree. You'll have to ignore me because we're outside and the helicopter's coming over. It's just the joys of being virtual. So I'm going to have Caitlin move the camera now. We're going to move over here for a second. Okay. Can you see the products? So on the table, we have a whole big bunch of things, stuff that you'll recognize. Shampoos, syrup, varnish. Oh, here's a little violin instrument. Here's some cloth. I think we all know what this is. Some more woody stuff, some sponges, Parmesan cheese, some colas, suntan lotion, fruits, olives. And then there's even more down here. You can see fruit snacks, different medicines. Here's some baby food, stuff that you put on your car to make it shine, tires. Here's a leather piece out of a shoe and a bowling pin. So what we're going to do is talk about where some of these things come from. So like I said, there's over 5,000 things listed as a forest product. We are going to actually go through some of these, and on the table, we have a listing of where different things could go and where they came from, and what part of the tree they came from. Okay, so you'll see we have wood products, cellulose. Remember, cellulose was that little granular stuff that I showed you. I'm just going to put some cellulose right here. That's basically pulverized wood, but it turns into so many different things. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through some of these products, and we're going to actually put what part of the tree they come from and see if you can guess. I'll give you a second to guess, and if you would like to jump in on chat or ask a question, feel free. But that's what we're going to do here shortly. All right, so let's turn back. Well, let's just start from here where we're at. So think of the tree as a solid wood product, as broken down cellulose, pulverized wood. The fruits, the leaves, and even the seeds of the tree can be turned into products. The bark, who thought the bark? You know, and then the sap, you know, is the stuff that is like the lifeblood of the tree. It's the thing that's moving through the tree at all times. It's the mixture of water and sugars that the tree produces to keep itself alive. Think of the sap almost like the blood inside your body. If we didn't have blood, we wouldn't be alive. So we need these for different things. So let's start with the bowling pin. So the bowling pin, it doesn't look like anything too major, but inside it's solid sugar maple. So we're going to put that as a wood product, okay? Because it is solid sugar maple. Yes, on the outside, there's a plastic coating, but that's something just to help protect the inside. Because if you think about it, anytime you throw a 12-pound, 8 to 12-pound ball at a piece of wood, you're hoping that it will stay in place and not break or crack. And usually sugar maple is very hard and it will not do that. Here's something that's kind of neat. So this looks like a piece of leather, and everybody knows leather does not come from trees, but actually the process that is used to tan the leather, tanning means making the pores very tight. And the tanning process actually comes from the bark of trees, and they have what they call tannic acid in them. So here's something, a hammer. Yeah, we know the head, the steel part is not, but look at this. It's solid wood. So we will put this over here on the wood products. Cork. Everybody's seen a cork, I think. Sometimes you'll see it in cork boards. Sometimes you'll see cork shoes. Sometimes different bottling things have corks in them. This cork is actually something from the cork oak. It only grows in Spain and Portugal. And what it is, you just basically are peeling off the outer bark but it doesn't hurt the tree because there's always new bark coming underneath it. This stuff is the dead part of the bark that usually you see on trees. So like your body, cork would almost be like your skin. It protects the inner workings of your body. So I'm going to put this over here on the bark part. Now we get into some unique places or different things. We have things like a piece of rug or a piece of carpeting. And that piece of carpeting is actually made with cellulose. Now, the other thing I'm going to bring over here, this is a shirt, just a regular shirt, but this shirt is made from the material, it's the material called rayon. Rayon is actually spindleized wood fibers. These are pieces of wood, kind of like our cellulose here, that has been converted through a very lengthy process into something that we wear. All right, now we get into some of the other stuff. There's sometimes medicines out there, and these medicines are derived right from the bark of a tree. This stuff that helps take skin tags off, or if you've ever heard of somebody saying, oh, I've got an ingrown toenail and there's some medicine for it. This medicine comes right from the bark of a tree. And so it's something I actually did. I went to Walmart and picked this up because I was looking at the label and it was talking about the different trees that this is made from. Now, remember when I told you when I lived in Trinidad, I saw a tree that was oozing white sap. It almost looked like Elmer's glue just running down the side of the tree. And that was latex. Latex comes in the form of, it turns into many different things. So you have latex gloves. And so we're going to put that under sap. And actually tires were originally solid rubber, solid latex. And some solid latex rubber tires are still used today, but they're not the ones that go on your car. They're usually on ones that are on airplanes that land on ships. So rubber is a very unique thing. And so we're going to put this over here in the sap section. Sometimes our medicines can come from fruit, leaves, seeds. And I'm just going to put it right here because sometimes even bark is part of our medicines that we use. Coffee. If you've only seen coffee come like this, most people don't realize that it's coming from a seed, the coffee bean, which is a seed for the coffee tree. And here's something that's kind of neat to look at. Baby food. Now, we don't think about baby food too much. We just go get it and we feed it to the baby. But this actually came from the fruit of a tree. So when we're talking about this, sometimes we're talking about fruits like an apple or an orange. If you think about it, where do they come from? They grow on a tree, so they are considered products. Please ignore my fruits because I had a visitor get into my bin, and so he chewed on a few things. Sometimes dyes or tints, things like that, we get those from bark or roots. Now, I've got a couple things here. I'm just going to show you very quickly, and we'll try and figure out where that comes from. So I have car wax, fruit snacks, and makeup, mascara. What do you think these three things would have in common? Probably not a whole lot, but if you read the label inside, each one of these things is something called carnauba wax. Carnauba actually comes from the carnauba tree in South America. So when you're eating fruit snacks, you're actually eating a part of a tree. Is there a fruit snack tree? No, but there are things that come from certain trees that are products inside them. So we're going to put these over here. Carnauba wax is part of the sap. Our mascara, probably some sap. And we're even going to put the car polish over here under sap. So we're kind of getting through to it, and you can see how all parts of the tree can be used for so many different things. So now let's look at an instrument. So if any of you play guitars or violin, or you play drums, anything like that, you are looking at a wood product. And sometimes in violins, certain woods have a different makeup, excuse me, that will give them a fine tone, and other woods would not be good for that same instrument. So we're going to put that over here at our wood products. So our maple syrup. Now, the sugar maple tree is West Virginia state tree, and a lot of people don't think about what comes from it. So imagine if you can take, it takes light in order to make sugars in the leaves, and that's something called photosynthesis. Imagine taking a piece of sunlight, running it through a leaf, and yet it turns into something like this, something you put on your pancakes or French toast. That's where maple syrup comes from. So we're going to say this is a sap, okay? You may have noticed or been to a sugar camp, and that is where they actually tap the sugar maple trees, and you can actually tap other trees and make syrup out of it too. You'll just get a different flavoring to it. All right, now we talked about this. So we're looking at toilet paper. Toilet paper is cellulose. Remember I told you, how do you take a big tree and turn it into something the width of a hair? I don't know if you can see up close, but that's all wood right there. Okay, it's very, very thin. All right, so while we're at it, what's this? Newspaper. Newspaper. This is yet another cellulose product. Now, if any of you like to play softball, baseball, I know the big thing now is metal bats, but the original bats were made out of solid ash or hickory. Most of them ash. So that would be a wood product because it is solid wood. Even things like this. Does everybody know what that is? May look like a piece of candy, but actually that is a piece of charcoal. A lot of people think that charcoal is charred coal, and it's not. This is actually wood or bark that has been compacted and already burnt in the absence of oxygen. So once it does that, all the gases that are inside the wood condense. And then when you light a match to it, the gases are released, they burn hot and fast, and then they turn to ash. So we are going to put that over here under bark. Now, there's certain things, I like to go eat these. Cashews, certain nuts, and things that we like to consume. Where do you think they come from? Not just Walmart, they come from a tree. Here's one I like. This says cacao nibs. Cacao is just another word for chocolate. So chocolate comes from the cacao tree. And when I lived in Trinidad, there were several of those, and the pods on a chocolate tree are about that big. And once you open them, the nibs are actually little things that come out of the pod, like little seeds. They're very bitter. And so once those nibs are roasted, they become cocoa. So we are going to put that here, right on our seeds and leaves and fruit. Now, here's one I always like to bring up. And I know we're getting a little crowded on the table, but that's okay because there's so many different things. Parmesan cheese. Some of you may have seen something about this a few years ago, but we know that cheese is made from milk. But if you actually read the ingredients, which I'll just read you the ingredients of this, and this is only like in shaker forms of cheese or even packages of shredded cheese. Take a look. If you see the word cellulose anywhere, remember it's this stuff, cellulose. That's what's inside there. So here's what's in this Parmesan cheese. You have Parmesan cheese, you have salt, skim milk, powdered cellulose, and salt. So there is cellulose inside here. And what that is, it's in here so that it is an anti-caking thing. That means the cheese won't become a hard ball. But so what does cellulose taste like? Exactly what it's in. You eat cheese all the time and never have thought about it. Now, if you go out and get a big brick of cheese from your local store, that does not have wood in it or cellulose because it's just a solid block. All right, so a few other things that we have, of course, fencing, our flooring, houses, things like that. We know these are solid wood and we use those all the time. Susan had talked about her clipboard. Her clipboard has something that is like this. This is flake board. And this is just where it's a lot of pieces of wood that have been glued together and pressed into something new, but it's still a forest product. So we're going to put that here under wood. So as you can see, there are several things on this table. Here's one. This is varnish. Varnish is a sap product. Even your toothpaste, remember, I don't know if you got to hear it or not, but the video said your toothpaste is in there. There is something that is in here that is also in ice cream and shampoos, and it is called lignin. Lignin is basically the glue that holds all this cellulose together. And when wood is processed, it can actually come out. And so it's used as a thickener in toothpaste to make it have that lovely oozing motion. So we have that, or else it would look like water. So now let me ask you this. I asked you about the mascara, you know, what were the commonalities in it? What do you think these two products have in common? This is shampoo and olives. Everybody knows what an olive looks like. I eat them by the handfuls because I like them. I like them in salads. Some people don't. But what do these olives have in common with this shampoo? Actually, the olives are an actual fruit from the olive tree. Again, usually growing in California or some of the Spain and Portugal areas. So that would actually be a fruit. But this shampoo, what's kind of neat about this is that it is made with olive, avocado, and shea oils. These all come from a tree. Shea is a tree, avocado is a tree, and olive is a tree. So there are a lot of different things. I'm going to put that, I'm going to put that right here because that's part of a seed. And like I said, some of our medicines, here's something, it's a chest rub. Eucalyptus and camphor are trees. They don't grow in West Virginia, but we still use them. And you know that smell is a sap. Okay, so I think our time is getting close. I'm going to turn it over to Susan here shortly, but you know, think about it. We've talked about a lot of things here. And remember, over 5,000 things come from a tree. And that is why we like to manage our forests so that when your grandchildren's grandchildren come around, you are still going to have a forest out there to help give us the things that we like and need every day. So I thank you for being part of this. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. But this is what we get from trees, just a real small sampling of it. But next time you go to the store, if you're not sure, take a look on the back. If you see the word cellulose, just like this, these sponges, Ocello. These are cellulose sponges. Didn't come from the sea, came from cellulose. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Susan. And if there's anything else you would like.
Thank you so much, Linda. And Caitlin, your director, did a very nice job. That was so interesting. It always blows my mind to see what's made out of wood because you don't think about it. You think just, paper and your regular, things you can visually see is wood. So it's always so
Exactly.
interesting. Did
Well, we
anyone?
do that because we can go get them so quick. It's until
Yeah.
you don't get them that you start looking. So yeah, look some of this up.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put those into the chat or turn off your videos so you can ask. I know Jeffrey in the beginning did say maple syrup, so he was on it. He was thinking about
Okay,
other wood products. He did good. All
Well,
right, guys. That concludes this session. You'll be leaving. You just hit leave room and rejoin into our main session. You'll be welcomed back in, and then we'll split again for our 11 o'clock session. We have a few minutes in between if you need to go to the restroom or get a drink or anything like that. Thanks again, Linda.
Thank you.